I
The
am
Thursday Lives.
the Thursday Lives. Yes. And I'm Jay, and she is. You are.
Hey y'all, welcome to Lives with Thursday Lives with Trey and Jay. We're gonna just start that over. Um, Welcome. I am Trey.
And I'm Jay. And hop on to YouTube, y'all. We're on YouTube. This is about to go, this is ending very soon. So I'm on both YouTube and Instagram, but we're gonna focus on YouTube. So the topic.
Absolutely, because the people on YouTube, y'all get the experience. Okay, we just trying to transfer the audience. That's all.
Transfer the audience. Exactly. So how you doing? Hello. How's everyone doing? But Trey, you start first. How are you doing?
Oh, today was a whole entire day at work. Oh man. Um, yeah, I actually just finished a Zoom workshop that was supposed to end at 7, which ended at 7:52 or 53.
The
Um,
disrespect.
huh?
I said the disrespect.
Clearly. And so I kind of just was like running into here. So hey y'all, I'm really excited to be here to get to this portion of my day. So that's how I am doing today.
That's good. How
And
was my day? What did I do today? I started up the day. I was supposed to go for a walk, but it was snowing. Hey, follow us on YouTube. We're on YouTube. We're about to shut this down real quick. But I just wanted to let you know that we're on YouTube. Um, they said, got it. My day was good. We actually did eventually take a walk as a family. So you probably see that on Instagram, our stories. I felt like a crazy woman taking my daughter out there, but it was pretty fun. I don't think she liked it. She complained the whole time, but then I got work done, and what else? Tried to feed Imani. She's not eating like regular, like a, as an older person. She's young. That was the highlight of my day. So it was, I mean, it was cool.
yeah, I'm looking forward to after this to take some time outside. I've been locked and
This
loaded
wait,
into my office. Um, yeah, so now I am like, okay, I'm gonna go. I'm looking forward to shoveling. That's actually very fun to me.
that's
But I always play in the I always play in the snow first before I start shoveling. So
I
I'm
love
looking
it.
forward to just playing and like utilizing that moment, that time as a decompressor for the work week, you know? So yeah.
That's awesome. I like the fact that you have fun with shoveling the snow, because some people hate that.
I
Some
mean, I
people.
used to, but then I just realized like it's mad calming. Like it's very calming to just be outside, have your music in your ears, playing whatever tune you feel like playing, and shoveling. Like you're not rushing. For me, at least, I don't have like a time limit. Oh my goodness, I need to be back inside. Like I'm not rushing to do it. I'm just taking my time, and I recognize for myself whenever I'm taking things whenever I'm doing something that forces me to take my time and do it, and there's a form of relaxation in it. It's very calming.
Mm-hmm.
So I look forward to
What's up?
that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So I'm excited about today's topic.
Yes, y'all, we are talking about honoring your emotions tonight.
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 Before we get into the topic, I want to talk about the fact that all month the topic is what's love, and honoring your emotions is loving yourself. And yeah, honoring emotions. A couple things that I was. How does
You're kind
Jesus?
of freezing, so I don't know what you're saying.
Am I still frozen? Am I still frozen?
Yeah, okay, go ahead. Start speaking.
So I said that when I was thinking about what does honoring your emotions mean, or like, just thinking about the topic, I was thinking, okay, what does Jesus do to honor his emotions? Like, how does he show his emotions? And he does. And I don't think we think about Jesus in that way. But he really did have different emotions because he was human, just like us. And so there was a couple of things that I was thinking about, a couple of the incidents in the Bible that shows when he expressed certain emotions. I'm about to turn off. Sorry, Trey. So yeah, follow us on YouTube. We're on YouTube, all right?
So the thing that I want to just kind of hone in on in this particular space is, as we're talking about honoring emotions, this month we've been talking about what's love, right? And getting into the different spaces of what that looks like, whether that's this week talking about honoring your emotions, the week before talking about the comparison trap, and then it's God's love for me, like all of that. And please be sure to check that out on our YouTube channel where you are currently. You can find our Thursday lives on here. But the thing is, just kind of getting into why we're even talking about honoring your emotions. I think we don't necessarily think we consistently talk about emotions, but we're not necessarily, I don't find that we talk enough about the context of how Jesus had expressed his emotions, and the emotions that are expressed within the Bible, the varied emotions, because technically we normally talk about two, which is the sadness and some type of joy, but there are varied emotions. I think it's that movie In and Out or something, or Feeling. I don't remember. It's a Disney movie.
Is it Inside Out?
Inside Out. That's what it's called. Something. Yeah, I was like, I know it's something inside something. In and Out or Inside Out.
That's a good.
But I remember I actually did a professional development workshop for New York City teachers last year on Inside Out. And one of the things that I did was talk about the complete plate of emotions, because we're consistently having conversations on two. And so this evening, us talking about the honoring your emotions comes into how to biblically discuss your emotions, because it's healthy for you to express, it's healthy for you to decompress, it is healthy for you to not store your emotions. It's extremely important for you to not hoard your emotions. It is extremely important for you to release them and not assume that in releasing your emotions you are no longer allowed to now be a believer, or you're no longer allowed to be desiring to look more and more like Jesus. Like, you having your emotions is totally fine, but also discussing and empowering ourselves to have a plate larger than these two emotions that we are normally talking about, right? So you can go ahead, you can start, but I just wanted to kind of lay that foundation as well, as we're talking about honoring your emotions tonight.
Yeah. Before we get into the details of Jesus and his emotions, I just wanted to share about this this topic that has come up for me a few times. So yesterday, I was talking to my family. We're trying to have a consistent prayer, possibly like once a week. It's hard, but we're doing it. So yesterday we were talking, and my aunt was like, you can't question God, and you know what they say. And I was just like, why can't you question God? Like, why can't you ask God a question? And then, she was saying, well, our parents and our grandparents say that's not right. You shouldn't question God. And I was thinking, like, we actually have a video about this. We have an episode on our YouTube channels, on this channel. So you should definitely check that out. I think it was season 2. It was season 2, yeah. And I was like, but if you have a relationship with any person, why can't you ask them a question and share how you feel? You know, like if you feel like you cannot share your emotions with anyone, um, I think that's a problem, you know. And
more so, I would actually want to know book, chapter, verse. Like, let me know where it says
you can't ask God a question.
I can't question someone,
you know,
I'm in a relationship. Like,
yeah, you know, and Jesus wants a relationship with us. God wants a relationship with us. And so
absolutely.
and I'm not going ahead and saying curse God out with the question, but if you did, he would still be your God, and he would still
I'm like, you saying that, I'm like,
he would still want to be in a relationship with you because that's just how good he is, right? And that's how patient and faithful and kind and like forgiving he is. So what I'm saying is it just reminded me of a time when I was very angry at God and I cursed at him. I cursed him out. I didn't curse him out. I guess you could say that. I think cursing somebody
I for sure have cursed God out. I don't think that that's like.
No, what I'm saying is when I think of cursing somebody out, I'm thinking about like it's
like a back and forth.
Right. And it's not like that with God. But I use curse words because I was so frustrated. But as I was doing it, it felt better. And I just felt, and yes, I didn't hear God say this, but I felt like he was just listening. I felt like he was just listening and he was honoring my emotions. You know, he was listening to what I felt, listening to how, and he knew that I was he knew before I even got to that place, my emotions were high and I was extremely frustrated with my life and the decisions that I thought he wanted me to make. And guess what? He did want me to make those decisions. It was making me better, but it was very inconvenient and it was hard. It was difficult. So anyway, I say that to say, be okay with sharing your emotions with God, especially. And then also being aware of how you feel. Like first you got to be aware of how you feel, your emotions. And secondly, don't be afraid to share that with him. Because he already knows and then he wants to hear from you. He really does. I mean, before I get into that, Trey, can you share a story about how you
several of them.
Share one.
Right. I'm like, girl, there's several of them. Like, come on.
God.
But I do know, I will say, I actually one particular time in just sharing my emotions with God, what that looked like was actually saying how I felt.
Right.
Period.
Bars, just
absolutely in full saying how I feel. And I was actually just talking today with the woman who disciples me. So which ultimately is like, she's, I would say, my spiritual mentor. That's basically what discipleship is, and someone who consistently points you back to Jesus, like when in regular conversation, right? So her and I were talking today, and she was talking to me about the difference between transparency and vulnerability. Ooh. And I was literally on the phone like, yo, you talking a thing right here. And the reason why I said that was because we can be transparent with God and just be like, yo, so this is what it is, this is the thing, and we could list it off, and it can seem very vulnerable, because it's like, oh wow, you really saying the things, you really unpacking, you really allowing your heart to be open. But that ain't really that's light work for me. It may seem super transparent to you, but it's light work for me. The vulnerable piece is where I express the depths of it, how it makes me feel, how it hurts, how much joy I'm receiving in this, how like the levels of like, whoa, that's the vulnerable piece, right? And we don't share the vulnerable piece with everybody. And to be quite honest with you, I don't necessarily believe that we should, because everybody does not should not have that much like particular bullseye access to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as you think of a bullseye, you know, you get to that center and then it comes out furthermore. You know, the furthermore is like the transparent pieces, right? But the bullseye is that vulnerable piece, that like, wow, I'm going to lay my sword down so you could potentially hurt me with it, but I'm going to let it down. And so I'm saying that story of what it looks like between the difference between vulnerability and transparency, because I would be very clear on what transparency looks like. Vulnerability is being like, Lord, this hurts me. Let me explain to you how this is hurting me, right? And I could just give you an example specifically around, you know, things with your family, things with relationships, things with work, things with career, things with, I mean, health, things like any type of thing can be the thing, right? But it's really getting to the point where we can talk about honoring your emotions and what that actually looks like. What that actually looks like is for real being vulnerable with the Lord. Like I could pull up journal entries where I'm like, Lord Jesus, curse words, expletives, all the confusion, all the things in one sentence. And
all the frustration.
And he still loves me. And he's still right relationship with me, and I'm questioning him left, right, and center, and he's still pulling me that same area. He's still pushing me in that same area, and I'm like, but wait, well, I don't actually want to do, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's really what it may look like.
Knees not shaking, yeah,
and giving that space, because that's the part where it's at. And also, I was also so I'm in school, as I said that to before, but like, I had a video, a lecture that I was watching, and it was like, we are this American Western idea of we are individuals is a lie. You know, we are in relationship in all ways. It is not specific to romantic. It is relationship in all ways. In all ways, you are in relationship, right? And that is primary to your life, okay? So if we are in relationship and that's primary to my life, if I am not expressing the joys, the frustrations, the questions that I have, the concerns that I have within the relationships that I'm experiencing, what due diligence am I giving to the Lord? Like in real talk, because at that point I'm hoarding all the emotions. I'm capturing these emotions and I'm holding them on, and I'm walking around strong Black woman, and it's like, strength does not look like hoarding emotions. Strength does not look like, oh, you now have to be seated, like you have to physically be seated because something is happening with your health because of the fact that you are hoarding emotions. You know what I'm saying?
That happens, yeah.
That's ultimately where that's the necessary piece that we're talking about when we're talking about honoring your emotions. Honoring your emotions is not just a simple let me cry. And there's nothing wrong with crying, but it is not just crying. It is crying. It is expressing that this frustrated you. It is also talking and forgiving. It is also like, it is truly finding ways to care for yourself. And as you are caring for yourself, you are honoring your emotions. We just started here talking about like, oh, how was your day? And I was over here like, girl, it was a packed work day. And I'm like, I'm looking forward to going outside because I've been at my desk working all day. I'm looking forward to going outside to decompress. That is a way to honor emotions. Just being yourself, right? And like in such a way. So I'm really excited about this conversation. This is a conversation that I genuinely believe that as people we need to have, let alone as believers. So
like, because so it's like it was mentioned earlier, so many of us feel what we feel, but may not we're not aware of it because we don't take the time to be aware of it. We may feel a certain way. We can't even identify what it is, because we don't take the time to know what it is and express it to whom you should express it to. So the deeper your emotion, the deeper your intimacy, I mean, the deeper your vulnerability is with the person, the more intimate that relationship is. And so if you share your relationship, share your emotions with God, you would have a more intimate relationship with him. That's not the only way, but
You're
that is,
enacting, like you're engaging, you're
yeah, there's an
activating
exchange.
deeper.
Like
Yeah,
when my husband
yeah.
and I were dating, we weren't having sex, but we were very intimate with one
My
another.
laptop is about to die, so I gotta get my charger.
Yeah, it's okay. And so we were very intimate with one another, but we didn't have sex. And you can be intimate with someone without having sex with them, by sharing your emotions, your aspirations, not only like negative, I wouldn't say negative, not only sadness, but joys and what you want to do, and just being vulnerable with the person, in turn with God. So though we didn't start off with this, but it's so important to find out like the example as to how honoring your emotions is done. And Jesus is always the best example. So I was reading this article. It talks about the 10 ways that Jesus shared his emotions, or like showed emotion. And for some reason, we don't usually think about Jesus showing emotion, but he was very compassionate, like that's emotion. Like he was very loving, that's emotion. And so we're going to talk about the other things. So first, Jesus showed his emotions with showing joy. He was joyful. He showed exhaustion. He was exhausted. And guess what? He rested. A lot of times we are exhausted and we don't rest, right? He showed anger. He showed disgust. He
Can we
showed,
go? I love that you mentioned that part, but I was just saying like I need to remember that. That's all I was saying.
yeah, I'm just listing them and then we can
Yeah,
break it down.
yeah,
And
yeah.
the last one, two things I wanted to say. He showed empathy. He showed forgiveness. And actually another one is that he showed like sorrow, or like grief, so is there anyone in particular you want to talk about, or you just want me to
Oh
jump?
no, I wanted to talk about rest, exhaustion, and the reason why I wanted to just quickly highlight that is because oftentimes we think rest is sleep, and it may not necessarily be sleep for you. Something restful, like a restful activity to you, may very well be watching a movie. It may very well be, like taking a walk, which is extremely, for me, that is extremely restful to me. Like I could be like, oh, well, I'm looking forward to resting. And resting to me is go take a walk, just walk. Like that movement in my body is necessary for me. Or even rest, watch a movie. Like that to me is also something that is extremely important. Like I think being able to break it down to say these are the things that we see how Jesus was able to honor his own emotions, that gives us an empowered space to say, wow, well, I desire to look more and more like you. Therefore, I know that as I've seen in your example, you are honoring your emotions. Therefore, I get to as well.
Yeah. So it says that he was exhausted from the demands of ministry. So think about it. Once he started healing people, the word spread. They didn't have phones back then, but they still somehow communicated with each other in long distances. And so the word spread. It's always word of mouth. That's the best type of communication, right? The best type of advertisement, I should say, not communication, but advertisement specifically. And when Jesus went places, people demanded things from him. And even in my years of ministry, I am nowhere close to being Jesus, clearly, right? But I feel the demands of ministry. And so if being Jesus, like if we were around that time, we would be pulling on him too. Like, can you do this? Because we do it now. We pray. We do it now. But if he was physically in front of us, oh, it's a wrap. We're going to wherever he is. And so When Jesus,
y'all all with everybody. Okay, we all would be
everybody,
swiping our Metro cards. Where we gotta go, putting gas in the car. Where we gotta go, putting air in the bike tire. Where we gotta go. You know what I'm saying?
right?
Like,
And
putting the
those
good
who
sneakers
actually
on.
believe,
Putting the good sneakers on. Where we gotta go. Okay, like
yeah, because even if you didn't fully believe, I think like if you're desperate enough, you would like at least try. You know that there's a saying as there's no oh man, I forgot the term. There's no fox in us. There's no dang it. I'm really messing it up. What it means is that when your back is against the wall, there's no atheist in a foxhole. I think that's what it is. But anyway, I'm messing it up. What it means is that if you are really, really desperate, you're gonna at least like you're gonna find some if you're gonna want to find some type of like sympathy or like some type of answer. You're gonna at least pray. You're gonna look for some type of help from God. You know, there's I've heard of atheists that say, you know, I don't believe in God, but then like desperate times calls for desperate measures in their case. So anyway, exhaustion. Matthew 14:13, it says, when Jesus heard what had happened, and they're talking, I think this is the scripture just before the story about the 5 loaves and two, is it the 2 fish and 5 loaves or the 5 loaves and two? I always forget. But he's that situation. He withdrew by boat privately to a solitary place. He hearing of this, the crowds followed him on foot from the town. So he was trying to get away for a hot minute, and people followed him. But he knew he needed to take time alone. He needed to rest. It didn't say he went to sleep, though there's nothing wrong with going to sleep, because I love a good nap. But he took some time alone. And you know what? He's right, because rest is extremely important. And he needed the time with God as well to do anything, right? To do any type of ministry.
I think that's the if there's anything, and particularly around exhaustion, to get out of here is rest will be forced upon you
if you don't take it.
If you don't take it, if you don't have active ways of decompressing, if you don't actively in real time give yourself the space. And I don't mean like wait till Saturday or wait till Sunday, or you know what I mean, one of those like, I'm talking about active routine of decompressing in order for you to prevent as much as possible that space of being fully exhausted. Like something can make you exhausted, but then you recoup with whatever restful way that you honor your emotions. So let's say, for example, if honoring your emotions so let's say something was exhausting, this conversation of forgiveness that you had with a friend, that can be extremely exhausting because that's somebody like you're allowing yourself to be vulnerable in this space, and express how hurt you are, and also how much you've hurt that other person, and how much you desire forgiveness from them, and how much you desire to walk out forgiveness with them as well, right? And after that, you may very well need to put something on YouTube and dance. Lord, okay? Like you may just like, I need to just release this energy. And the releasing of the energy may very well be that, but that could have very well been exhausting. But we're talking about honoring your emotions also looks like actively adding, spaces for rest, spaces to express yourself, spaces to like sit and acknowledge what has happened. And that can be a space that's full of joy, like acknowledging the fact that you could sit and have this conversation with said person when you are trying to walk out forgiveness with that person, and you actually sat there the whole time. You were actually fully present, and you were purposefully trying to listen, intentionally listening, intentionally giving them space to respond to your questions or your thoughts and stuff like that. That is a space to really acknowledge joy in. And you expressing joy may be coloring. You expressing joy in that space may be like, oh my goodness, I just want to watch a movie. Like, I feel good, I'm watching a movie, or I feel good, I just want to lay down, or I feel good, I want to, it's snowing outside right now in Brooklyn, y'all. So like, I want to go shovel. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want to listen to my music, and I just want to do something mindless.
Right. Sometimes you just want to mind
DIY project. Yeah, like DIY, paint your nails. Like, if you're a woman, if you're anybody, you can paint your nails. First of all, let's do that. But I was like, yeah. But anyway, with that being said,
another
paint
topic.
your nails. Do you be in the house, paint your nails, do something that honoring your emotions, at least to me, is both acknowledgement and mindless. It's an acknowledgement, like, wow, like maybe I'll journal out, like, yo, this is really what I'm feeling. This is crazy. This is how it's feeling. And then at the same time, it's mindless because it's my thoughts. I don't have to like force the thinking. Like, I don't have to use my brain power.
It's just you being you.
Right. You being you in your journal. And I think I just wanted to respond to something that that I saw earlier in the chat was around cursing. And so I think it's like there's a difference between cursing God and cursing at God.
I use curse words in the sentence.
That's what I mean, right?
That's why I mentioned earlier, like I wasn't cursing him out.
Cursing like his
I think if you did, I think if you, I truly believe, not that I think, like I in my opinion, I think if you curse God out, ask him for forgiveness and you should be good. you straight. He wants a relationship with you past what you did, but yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, when it comes to cursing is that to me is not necessarily where the conversation was going, but using curse words, that is where the conversation was going. Utilizing curse words as in this space of like expressing and honoring my emotions. And if in this emotion, if in this space I am looking to honor my emotions, what that looks like is, yo, this is bothering me. Like, this whole is bothering me. This all like that. What that looks like is because I remember this was years ago. I remember watching a sermon, and it was like the same conversation that you would have with a person over the phone is the same like once something happens or once something is said to you, then what you get to do is have that exact conversation with God.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it's not like, the same way you would call and be like, let me tell you what was said. And I'm like,
this we did.
Right. Because every time, and then and it's all those things, right? And it's like, yo, you could say all that to God, and that does not mean that he's like, yo, she wilding out, I'm done with her. Or like, he wilding out, I'm done with him. It's like, no, that's actually not how fickle he is. You know what I'm saying? And we are fickle.
Yeah.
Like, I remember my cousin one day being upset with me, and she was like, well, Trey, and she cursed, and I was like, don't know who you talk to. Conversation done. And that literally was my response.
She was mad. What did you do?
She had the right to be mad. I'm not even like, we were like 19, and I remember it. We were like 19. And she definitely had the right to be mad, and she was upset, and she expressed her emotions. And because she used a curse word while expressing her emotions towards me, I shut it down. And I was like, yeah, no, that's not what we about to do, because no. And that's not how the Lord is. You see, the Lord would be like, oh, okay, you tight, you big mad, copy. I'm still listening. I did not say I'm running away from her because she used a curse word while expressing herself to me. Or I didn't run away from him because he was like, yo, what the is this? Like, I didn't run away. I'm not running away. Like, we are fickle. We are the ones that will be like, well, you cursing at me. I don't do curse words. I don't do that type of engagement. Or you raising your voice. I don't do that type of engagement. And I'm done. But that's not God. And if we box him in, and that's something that we talked about last week, talking about the comparison trap. But what happens is when we look at Jesus as a human, then we start to use human standards onto him. Because humans will be like, oh, I should never question you. I should never say anything to you. You always have my best interest at heart. At the same time, hey, I got questions, which you do. But at the same time, I got questions. I am partnering in this. Like, I'm trying to engage and actively engage in this. And as I'm actively engaging, I got questions. And you're so beautiful, like you're so dope that you would sit there and be like, let's talk about this.
He's patient.
I'm not going to run away from you because you got questions for me. I'm not going to run away from you just because you were like, you know what? I am freaking exhausted and I'm tight. No, he's not. He's not Petty LaBelle. Like, yeah, he's not.
He's short and Petty LaBelle. Thank God. It reminds me of when I was in youth ministry. Well, I kind of still am, but like I was like extremely like leading youth ministry, and I met this young man. I met him on a camp trip, meaning that we were away with him and other teens for like 6 days, and I didn't know him at the time, which is not the way we were supposed to do it. So anyway, this dude was extremely disrespectful to me. He ended up calling me a B, saying he pretty much cursed me out. And the way I grew up, that don't fly. That do not fly for several reasons. But let me just park with the reason, the focus on the fact that he's a child and I'm an adult. And you don't do that, But God being God reminded me that, Janelle, your objective is not for him to come to you. Like, your objective is not for him to respect you, Janelle. Your objective is for him to know and love me, God. And so, but when someone knows and loves God, they give respect to others, So if I focus on the main objective, then eventually, that would be the case. And, with that reminder, I had to show him love. I had to return with love. Because at first I was mad snippy with him and I was like, but I didn't give him what he gave me, but I had to reel it back even further and remind myself, well, God reminded me like, yo, you don't know where he came from. Long story short, I found out that his mother died when he was 2 weeks old from drugs. Like, his father wasn't there for him. Like, he was fending for himself. Like, his background was all the way crazy. And he had a lot of anger in his heart. And just me and other leaders just loving him and returning his disgusting attitude with love. And, we were stern with him, but returning it with love and not with what he gave. He stayed around for a long time and he still wants to be around and he still wants to, he's like a little kid now, even though he's like, what, 20? He took down that exterior, that hard, tough exterior. And he's open to hear what the gospel is. He's open to what we're saying. He's open to a relationship with us and a relationship with God. So, and I learned that from God's example. That wasn't something I just made up on my own. And that's not what I was taught growing up either. Because you don't disrespect adults as my Caribbean background. We don't do that. Trey, no.
Absolutely not.
Backhand slap.
That's a hard no. That's a hard no.
Like, I got slapped when I was a kid because I told my grandmother, shut up. I deserved it. Anyway, the point is, God is not like that. And I had to honor his emotions and where he was at the time, because where he was at the time was a very angry young man, very hurt, very bitter, very unforgiving. Like
I think one of the things that I remember just having a conversation around was when you are walking out the process of forgiveness with someone or some people or whatever. Just as you start by praying with them, praying like not with them like physically, because you guys obviously probably are not like cool like that, but just praying for them, right? And what happens is that level of forgiveness and expressing the hurt because you're not able to express it with that person, which really causes the the lack of connection, because that's what as I started earlier talking about, relationship is the context of our lives, right? Not necessarily romantic, but relationship is the context of our lives, right? And as it is the context of our lives, connection is what we desire at all costs, with all at all costs, in all ways, right?
And look at you with the conscious loving. I know that's what it came from. This book Tracy loves, which eventually
listen, y'all
should read it as a group.
This book, oh my gosh. Anyway,
but you know, you're very right. Like, I don't know if they're believers or not, the author, but like as a Christ follower, like he has made that very clear that truly what we want, like, you know, we want to be in these romantic relationships, but we really just want connect. We want to be seen, heard. We want to be known
and loved.
We want to be known. We want to be loved, right?
Yeah, and in an intimate way. And I think as you're walking out the process of forgiveness, which is a space of honoring your emotions, is like, I know oftentimes we desire to forgive someone, something, whatever, but we no longer have access to them. And sometimes we may think that because we don't have access to them, there is no space for forgiveness. And that is a lie. That's a whole lie. And the reason why it's a whole lie is because we get to honestly walk out forgiveness, starting out with expressing our emotions and honoring our emotions with God. So, for example, there may be a friend, an old friend, there may be a sibling, there may be a family member, and you know, whatever family member, there may be a family friend, there may be a teacher, there may be some type of a pastor or someone, right? Or some people, or an ex in your life that you feel that you are like desiring to walk out forgiveness with, because you're still harboring it, like you're still holding on to it. You may not necessarily say it out loud, but you're still holding on to it.
Yeah.
And because culture has taught us that time heals wounds. It's a lie. It's a lie. But time heals all wounds is in the quotations, because that's a lie. Time does not heal wounds. It is active work in the wounds that actually allows you to like walk the process of healing, the journey of healing, because it is a lifetime. But you know, things get less, what's the word? The triggers become less closer as you go along, as you work along with it, not necessarily the timing. So anyway, with that being said, you may think that because that person, you don't have access to that person, that you now no longer have the ability to walk out forgiveness with them. And you do, by honoring your emotions and like really writing it out, or letting it out, crying it out, writing it out, and just expressing, Lord, this is how I actually feel about this thing. For real. This is how I feel. I felt hurt by this. I felt like I felt abandoned. I felt left. I felt forgotten about. I felt insignificant. And these are words that we won't easily say out loud, because of our own pride and our own workings to say like, yo, I've been like really working through this. And it's like, yeah, but saying those words don't invalidate, they don't now make void the work and the process and the journey that you've been on. But honoring your emotions, y'all, is the most important thing, like seriously, aside from your relationship with Jesus, but it's like really the most important thing as you are developing and growing and engaging in your relationship with Jesus, because he don't call us to be surface level believers. Like, he's like, I want your whole heart. And the only way for us to really access and give access and open up our real hearts, our inside, is for us to acknowledge what the heck is going on within us. Like, we could look hella normal on the outside, but everybody is not the standard. If that's the way that your life is, you're living your life for other people to be the standard, then copy. But if you are like, I genuinely desire to look more and more like Jesus, if I'm desiring to look more and more like Jesus, I'm really like, yo, I'm really coming to look more and more like you. What that looks like is opening up your heart and honoring your emotions and being like, yo, this is how I'm for real feeling. Point blank, period. This is really how I'm feeling.
I'm actually gonna, so the two books that came to mind is the book you referred, well, I knew you were talking about, which is Conscious Loving. And the other book is Emotionally Healthy Spirituality.
Oh, that book was life changing. Like, I felt seen with that book specifically. I felt seen with that book. And of course, y'all already know I'd be talking about Conscious Loving all day. But yeah, like, I literally felt emotionally healthy spirituality. That made mad sense. Like, that, it just clicked. It just clicked. And Conscious Loving, and this is something that I also want to impart about Conscious Loving, or about books like this, that like, not every book is written by a believer. That doesn't mean that those principles still don't ring loud. You know what I'm saying? And there are certain books that are like principle books, and then there are books that are like specifically biblical. And Conscious Loving is a principles that joint will hit different, especially as a believer, because you'll be like, oh wow, that was crazy. Oh wow, the whole sentence. Wow, hit me with the whole sentence. Hit me with the whole chapter. Hit me with the whole page. This paragraph? Yes. So yeah, so that's
highlighting everything.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we didn't go over all the like the intricate aspect. Well, I'll bring up some of the scriptures, but we didn't go over all the details of each emotion that we talked about that Jesus displayed, and that's not even all of them, because clearly, like we talked about, he's a human being, and so therefore he was fully human and fully God.
Absolutely.
His human side had emotions, and guess what? Like, as God being God, like, he can connect with us with our emotions as well. So one of the things that I was thinking about when you talked about rest, and when we talked about like sorrow and grief, is how I felt yesterday. So I've heard this before, and now I know it to be true. Like, joy and grief, or joy and sorrow, can coexist. I would say right now in my life, I thoroughly am a joyful person. Like, I'm very thankful. Life is not perfect at all, because whose life is? But I do think that my life is pretty good. Yeah, it's good. It's really good. But yesterday I went to a funeral, and I shout out to the hubby, because he set me up to rest and I didn't even realize it. So after I went to a funeral, so some of y'all know I had to go to a funeral. Well, yeah, some of y'all know that, because
also, BTW plug, we have an Instagram page. It's the same spelling as you see here at Life with Trey and Jay. That's Life with TRAYANDJEA. And you can check out our Insta stories.
Yeah, and so yesterday was my day to take over the Insta stories, and so happened to be going to a funeral. And so, it was very sad. Bittersweet, I would say. Like I always say, when a person has a relationship with Jesus, it's bittersweet because you're gonna miss them on this earth. Yo, but they having a ball in heaven. They doing big things in heaven, they having a great time with their father, with their God, in heaven. So that's the bittersweet part. And so I was funky, I wasn't funky. I didn't have a funky attitude, but I was emotionally drained. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I didn't even think about it. Yes, I was going to get something to eat on my own, but my husband, he warmed
You are
the food
breaking
for me.
up.
I was like, oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And then after we ate, you hear me?
Yeah, I heard warmed, and that was it.
Oh, so I was saying that I was tricked into, can you hear me?
Yes.
I was tricked into resting because I was like my husband, Warner, he knew that I was emotionally drained. And so he took the time to warm up food for me. So we ate lunch together. And then he said, hey, Janelle, can we cuddle for 5 minutes? And I was like, in the middle of the day like that? All right, fine. I'm always down to cuddle. But he tricked me because it's like in the cuddling, it was like this, go to sleep. And so I fell asleep for about an hour. And that was helpful for me because I was emotionally drained. And so, I guess that's him honoring my emotions when I didn't honor mine, because I was like, I got work to do. I got to stay up later tonight because I didn't finish it. But, at least I was able to rest. And so, with that being said, Jesus grieved and he rested. One of the things that one of the famous verses that people always talk about, because it's the shortest one in the Bible. I guess a lot of people, if they ever had to memorize a scripture, this is the one they always read. They always recite is Jesus wept. 2 words, 1 verse, Jesus wept. He wept because he was grieving. And so Janelle wept yesterday. And I wept today. Tracy weeps for sure.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
We weep as human beings,
And keep in mind, your body weeps if you're not physically, if the tears aren't fully coming out, your body is still weeping. Mm-hmm.
Right. It's somehow when you don't really actually honor how you feel and your emotions and stuff like that. And I'm not I don't think I'm a very emotional person, but there's nothing wrong with identifying your emotions. Like we talked about, honoring your emotions and doing what you need to do for it.
And I think it's important. Yeah, it's important to express that honoring your emotions looks like an awareness of your emotions, being aware of the fact that you are an emotional being, and being labeling, knowing that you and hearing the label emotional being does not mean weakness. It's actually fully being in power. You know what I mean? Like truly activating your own the power that you have within you to know that it's okay to stand boldly and say, I am an emotional being. Because when things happen, whether I actively open my mouth and say, hey, this is blank to me, my body will be doing it, my heart will be doing it, my mind will be doing it. Now all of a sudden I'm exhausted, I feel like I need to lay down. That is your body indicating that you're not articulating that you are in need of honoring your emotions. And as we said, honoring your emotions can be a variety of things. It can be just a way that you decompress, just a way that you give yourself active space to feel. That simply giving yourself active space to feel. And as you give yourself the space to actively feel, what you're doing is really honoring your emotions and honoring yourself, being vulnerable with the Lord and saying wow, Jesus, I'm tired. That was emotionally exhausting. It was an emotionally exhausting conversation. It was an emotionally exhausting day. This was a very brain taxing activity. You know what I mean? And so now I need to express myself, and fully giving myself the opportunity to express myself is bold. That is a bold move. And that's
It's an act
quite
of love.
courageous. Yeah.
It's an act of
So
love.
in talking
Valentine's
about
Day.
honoring, oh my bad. So let me just finish the sentence. So in talking about honoring your emotions, just know that it takes courage to get to this place where you're like, yo, I'm going to actually honor my emotions, but know that the Lord wants to hear it all from you. Like, I know we always be like, oh, well, he knows because he sees. And it's like, yeah, but actively expressing that with him is very much so important. So go ahead.
Yeah, and Valentine's Day is not only about love between husband, wife, boyfriend, and girlfriend, or some romantic relationship. Like, well, Valentine's Day, love yourself, love yourself. So that's why we did it this month. So yeah, y'all, we talked about the different emotions that Jesus felt. We talked about the emotions that we have as human beings. I just want to highlight two more emotions that Jesus shared, and if Tracy has something to say, then we're gonna go. Um, this is one of my favorites because I just love it because it shows like the gangster version of Jesus, or the gangster, not virgin, but the gangster aspect of his personality. And it's his disgust for greed, racism, and oppression of the poor. And in John 2, it talks about him being in the temple, and he's seeing that they're doing activities that's not supposed to be done in that space. So it's a sacred space. And so I'll just read it. It says, in the temple courts he found people selling cattle, sheep, and doves, and others sitting at the temple exchanging money, like all these underhanded things. So like now we see people at churches sometimes doing things that we know is not right. Even if we're not a Christian, we know it's not right. And Jesus is like, oh no. And so he flipped the table
Which
over.
I'm not about to do.
One of my favorite things. Flip. I just always imagine him like just
Right. Right.
And so I had to
flipping the tables.
like, and people think of Jesus as this very soft and docile person. And yes, he's soft, but he's not docile. Like he's compassionate and loving. And then there's empathy. He has empathy. He has, and it's it talked about empathy for the pain of others. Of course, he has empathy for the pain of others. He knows what we're going through. And so a good example of that is John 4, which is the woman at the well, which is a woman who was just getting water from a well. And Jesus goes up to her. He wasn't supposed to, at that time, you wasn't supposed to have that conversation with people like her or a woman, especially that place, that time. And he was like, bump all the societal norms. I'm going to talk to her because guess what? I know she's in pain. I know she needs to talk to someone. And then he pretty much blows up her spot in a loving, kind way. He's like, you got like 5 husbands and the one you with is not yours. Like the one you living with right now is not yours. Sis, just leave them all alone. Like what you really need is me, and not like his body, but like a relationship with him. And pretty much it's one of my favorite stories in the Bible. It's pretty much just look at the whole chapter of John 4. And he just had empathy for her. So there's so many emotions that.
But this is the thing. This is the beautiful part about that. Like, yes, of course, we're talking about that he had empathy for her. At the same time, honoring your emotions looks like talking about them.
Yeah, and she did.
And that's exactly what happened.
She was compelled to talk.
Like we cannot desire to continue to love on ourselves and do these external acts of caring for ourselves if we're not going to articulate our emotions. And articulating our emotions does not mean that we're being negative. It means that we're actually honoring ourselves by talking about the thing. And that's the important part is making sure that we're talking about the thing, because ultimately it's not fair to ourselves to not go there. It's ours to go. You know what I mean? Like it's our stuff to go there. Like, so we can go there, trusting and knowing that this is a safe space, and that's how we share. That's how we get vulnerable, is in safety. When we feel safe, we share.
Yeah. So
If we do not feel safe, we will not share. And just our like, specifically, I don't know where this is coming from, but like, seriously, like, safety gives you the space to share. And I desire, I pray that you guys feel safe with your own emotions to express them to the Lord, because he wants to hear from you, and you are not devalued because you were like, yo, I don't understand, and then you slipped a curse word in there. He's not gonna devalue you because of that. He's not gonna devalue.
She messed up. It's a wrap. I don't want to talk to her.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's not doing that. He's not doing that. He's not doing that. Actually, it's like, I don't know about y'all, but like, and I know we're over time, but I remember one time just being like, yo, Lord, like, I just need to express myself. Like, I'm feeling so jam-packed with stuff because I'm just not, I just did not express. And I kid y'all not, like, it like, I know it might sound, because I know when I wasn't a believer, people would say that, I'd be like, whatever. Right.
Okay, fairy.
Right, exactly.
Okay, rainbows and
exactly. But like, I remember many a times, like, when I'm feeling like I'm popping off at the seams and I'm wilding out on some, like, yo, real talk, this is what I feel, and this and this and this and this, and list them out. And then it'll be like, I will legitimately feel like he hugged me. Like, I don't even know how to explain that. And I'm talking about half the time it'd be like, Trey, just sit down, just relax. Like, I feel like he's mad, like he's comforting me. And I was popping off. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he was like this.
Yes. And I was actually like, but for real, if you really want me to talk to you, this is what I need. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, all of these things. And I'm going. And I really felt like he was just like, let me hug you.
Right.
Like, I'm gonna hug you, and I'm gonna hold you, and you're gonna take this nap. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're gonna cry. And as you're crying and really exerting all of that energy from crying, you might just take that nap. And I feel like mad warm, like comforted, like catered to. So honoring like your emotions is far more like a fuzzy yeah, like, and especially it's crazy for you to even feel like, I'd be mad cold, right? But it's crazy to feel like it's a fuzzy blanket where you're not even covered
physically.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you don't got no physical blanket on you, yet you still feel very much so covered and catered to and comforted. And so, I mean, I just kind of, I know it might seem like we're belaboring, but it's like, nah, this is for real. This is it. If there's one thing, this is it. So yeah, just wanted to circle back on that. So yeah.
All right, y'all.
It's past our time, y'all. We gotta go. I'm trying to shovel and decompress from this long work day. And listen to my music. Oh my goodness, y'all. What should I be listening to? I got, like, give me some songs. But yeah, I'm looking forward to just putting some music on. And
I like this thing that we got going on here.
I see you just discovered it and you are in. I don't mind. But you forgot the ad. Oh, I see it. Yeah, it's all right. Anyway, y'all already know. Listen, Life with Trey and Jay, you know, everything on Instagram is an ad. But anyway,
you know that. All right.
Please,
we'll be here next Thursday.
Like, comment, subscribe. Meet you here next Thursday once again. This is our location for us to do our Thursday lives. Next week on the list, we got implementing self-care. Pop. Okay. But yeah, looking forward to having that conversation with y'all. Meet us here. We're here at 8:00 on Thursdays. So we'll see y'all. Definitely be sure to check out our episodes. We have season 1 and season 2 of Life with Trey and Jay right here on our YouTube channel, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook. It's all the same at Life with Trey and Jay.
All right, y'all. Good night.
Good night, y'all.